Cold calling openers, techniques to hook leads. The first 20 seconds decide the outcome. Cold calling isn't dead in 2025, but weak openers are. Your SDRs can do everything right and still lose the call in the first 10 to 20 seconds if they sound generic, apologetic, or unclear. That's why the opener is one of the highest leverage assets in any outbound motion. The math is brutal. Average US connect rates sit around 3 to 10%, and it often takes about 18 dials to reach a single prospect. If your team is fighting that hard just to get a live human, the opener can't be a throwaway line. It has to earn attention and signal relevance immediately. Across B2B, the baseline dial-to-meeting success rate is about 2.3%. which works out to roughly 1 meeting per 43 dials. The good news is that once reps are in real conversations, they can convert those into meetings about 65.6% of the time. So the opener's real job is to get you into that high-yield zone. Why openers outperform scripts, pitch decks, and talk tracks. Most prospects decide within seconds whether you're a real person with a relevant point or another telemarketing call. If your opener feels like a script starting a transaction, you trigger resistance before you ever get to your value proposition. If it sounds like a human starting a conversation with a purpose, you buy time to actually earn the meeting. The best teams treat openers as measurable assets, not personal preference. When you're running sales outsourcing or managing an outsourced sales team, the opener is the most repeatable behavior to standardize, coach, and improve across reps, territories, and verticals. A single line can swing outcomes dramatically. In Gong's analysis, How Have You Been produced a 10.01% success rate for advancing calls, roughly 6.6 times stronger than baseline, while Did I Catch You at a Bad Time dropped to just 0.9%, making reps materially less likely to book meetings. 3 opener frameworks that consistently hook B2B buyers. Framework beats word-for-word scripting because it gives reps structure without making them sound robotic. The most reliable pattern is name plus company, a quick pattern interrupt, then a clear reason for the call tied to a business outcome. That sequence gets you past the "who is this" moment and into "why should I care" fast. The pattern interrupt opener works because it disarms telemarketer expectations without trying too hard. "Hey Sarah, this is Alex with Acme. How have you been?" is familiar, but in a cold call context, it's unexpected enough to invite a response. The critical coaching point is that reps must pause and react like a normal person before moving on. The "reason for my call" opener is the most dependable default across personas, and Gong's research suggests stating the reason early can lift success rates by about 2.1 times. Buyers relax when they quickly understand why you're interrupting them, especially if your reason references a pain they recognize and an outcome they want. How to operationalize openers across your SDR team. To make openers work at scale, standardize a small library by ICP and persona instead of letting everyone freestyle. For most teams, 2 to 3 primary openers per ICP is the sweet spot. Enough variety to fit different buyers, not so much that reps get decision fatigue mid-dial. The fastest wins come from forcing relevance into the first sentence after hello. Trigger-based openers anchored in funding, hiring, a tech stack change, or a strategic initiative immediately signal that you did your homework, and they keep you out of the "cold calling companies all sound the same" bucket. This is where a strong list-building process matters, because you can't reference a trigger you can't see. A simple way to manage this is to track opener type in your dialer or conversation intelligence tool and review only the first 30 to 60 seconds in coaching. When we build outbound programs as a B2B sales agency, we care less about how clever the script is and more about whether reps consistently deliver clarity, confidence, relevance, and control right away. Your opener isn't a greeting. It's the moment you prove you're relevant enough to earn the next 30 seconds. Best practices that make openers sound natural, not scripted. The difference between effective and cringe is often delivery, not wording. Coach reps to speak in short sentences, use plain language, and avoid over-explaining. A tight opener should feel like a professional interruption with a purpose, not a mini pitch deck read out loud. Permission can work if it's confident and time-boxed, especially with senior executives. Got 27 seconds for context? Then you can decide if it's worth a longer chat, respects time while keeping momentum. What doesn't work is apologetic permission that hands the prospect an easy exit before they've heard anything useful. You'll also get better consistency if you align openers to the role's metrics. A CFO cares about cost control and risk. A VP sales cares about pipeline and conversion. A CISO cares about exposure and response time. When your reason for call is anchored to what the persona actually owns, your B2B cold calling services stop feeling like interruption and start feeling like help. Common opener mistakes and the fixes that protect conversion. The fastest way to lose attention is a long, self-focused introduction. If reps spend 10 to 20 seconds explaining their title, company history, and what we do, they burn their only window to prove relevance. Keep the intro to name plus company, then move immediately into a pattern interrupt or reason for call tied to a buyer problem. The second killer is the weak permission line. Did I catch you at a bad time? It performs at about 0.9% success and effectively invites the prospect to end the call. The fix is either a confident micro-permission, got 30 seconds, or skipping permission entirely when you have a clear, trigger-based reason to call. The third mistake is sounding like everyone else. How are you today? Followed by a generic pitch. Prospects have heard it 1,000 times, so they shut it down automatically. Replace it with a conversational pattern interrupt. How have you been? Or a specific trigger reference that makes it obvious you're calling them for a reason, not just dialing a list. How to test, measure, and improve opener performance. Treat openers like a growth experiment. Run a 30-day A/B test with 2 primary openers, hold ICP and list quality constant, and measure performance on the metrics that matter. Conversation rate, connects that last 60+ seconds, conversation to meeting rate, and overall dial to meeting rate. If you can't see those numbers by opener type, you're guessing. Use a simple scorecard in weekly call reviews that focuses only on the first minute. Clarity, who, why, confidence, tone, relevance, trigger or persona pain, and control, a clear next question. This kind of instrumentation is especially important if you're running an SDR agency model, building a cold calling team quickly, or trying to hire SDRs and ramp them without months of shadowing. When you standardize testing, openers become compounding assets. Since the baseline success rate is about 2.3%, even modest improvements have outsized pipeline impact, particularly because once you're in a real conversation, the conversion to meetings can be about 65.6%. The goal isn't to sound perfect, it's to consistently win the right to keep talking. Where teams go next. Scaling with a repeatable opener system. Cold calling still earns executive attention, and that's the point. Roughly 78% of decision makers report taking an appointment or attending an event as a result of a cold call, so the channel remains viable when execution is strong. The teams that win aren't the ones dialing the most, they're the ones protecting the first 20 seconds and turning connects into conversations. At SalesHive, we approach openers the same way we approach any outbound lever. We standardize frameworks, instrument performance, and coach against real calls until delivery is consistent. That mindset matters whether you're building in-house, exploring a cold calling agency, or combining phone with adjacent channels like a cold email agency or LinkedIn outreach services to add context before the call. If you want a practical next step, pick 2 opener frameworks. Pattern interrupt plus reason for call is a strong starting pair. Apply them to one ICP for a month and review only the first 60 seconds of calls each week. When you treat openers as testable assets instead of personal style, your B2B cold calling becomes more predictable, your SDR coaching gets easier, and your pipeline stops living and dying by hopeful conversation.